Hi, let us begin with the chapter Historical Perspective of Information Technology and Business. Development of Information Technology. The actual history of man-made information technology is one of the slow evolution dating back to around 5,000 years. It has followed the mechanical and later electronic rather than biochemical path with primitive science, alphabet writing, a book printing, and computer typesetting, etc. Recently, telephone, radios, television, satellite transmission, all of them evolved, and then the microprocessor represented distinctive quality which changed the information technology. To understand that what exactly is information technology, it has been said that information technology is the science of information handling, particularly by computers, used to support the communication of knowledge in scientific, technical, economic, and social fields. Macmillan Dictionary of Information Technology (IT) defines IT as the acquisition, processing, storage, and dissemination of vocal, pictorial, textual, and numerical information by a microelectronics based combination of computing and telecommunications. 2 points are worth considering about this definition. The new information technology is seen as involving the formulating, recording, and processing, and not just transmission of information. These are the elements in the communication process which can be separated both analytically and in practice, but in the context of human communication, they tend to be intertwined. Modern information technology deals with a wide variety of representation of information. It covers not only the textual, that is cognitive, propositional, and verbalized forms, but also numerical, visual, and auditory representations. Therefore, we have a convergence of computers, microelectronics, and communications. Information technology encompasses such different things as book, print, reprography, the telephone network, broadcasting, and computers. It is important to bear in mind that information technology is not just concerned with a new piece of equipment, but with much broader spectrum of information activities. We now head to computer technology. Computer technology may be grouped into processor technology, storage technology, and software aspects. The left-hand side images are of processor, the center image is of a storage, and the right-hand side image is regarding software aspects. We will get to know it in the coming topic. Processor technology. Computers consist of electronic components assembled in a design or architecture that will perform necessary functions of input, output, and computational and control. In the past, electronic components were expensive, so a minimum number were used in a single processor that alternately performs input, control, processing, and output. Besides the first generation of computers, which we are going to study in this unit itself, operated by means of vacuum tubes or valves, they were relatively bulky and energy consuming. The first major innovation leading to microelectronics was the discovery of a transistor, a product of solid-state physics which used semiconductor materials. The most important development these days is based on the non-metallic element silicon. The central feature of microelectronics is development of microprocessor, a special form of integrated circuit (IC) which functions of arithmetic, logic, and control like those of CPU, central processing unit of a computer, and contained in a single chip. In addition, the microprocessor includes units to interpret instructions from the stored program, to supply the control memory the information necessary to retrieve instructions and send out data as and when required. The microprocessor is considered to be the building block from which modern computer systems are assembled. These aspects referred to form major hardware component of a computer also, which we are going to study in Unit 2. Now heading to storage technology. Considering some of the advances in devices for digital information storage, it may be stated that the most of primary storage in computers is now supplied by semiconductor circuits. There have been significant developments in memory technology affecting three areas of performance spectrum, which are the high speed, high performance, mid-range and the low speed bulk memory systems. The development of charged coupled devices (CCDs) and bubble memories has filled the gap which previously existed in the continuum of memory devices such as fixed head magnetic disks. It may be stated that all these innovations in storage technology provide us a variety of alternatives depending on the requirements of the speed of operation. These developments also add more capabilities to the storage aspects and may be also considered in the advances of storage technology. Coming to software aspects, software is a generic term covering the concepts, procedures, and instructions which enable computer systems to do useful things. Usually, software is conceived in terms of computer programs, discrete units of software which make the computer to carry out specific tasks and or systems or packages. The importance of software is obvious since it is the software which implies the power of the computer to solve the user's problems. Many users need a clear understanding of the capabilities of software rather than hardware aspects. The methods by which computer software is produced have changed considerably with the emergence of software engineering, which enabled improvements in programming practice such as structured or modular programming. The left-hand side flowchart that you can see right now over here is an example of structured or modular programming. It is hoped that these solutions would be able to meet fairly standard requirements. For an average user, they mean that there will be an increasing number of packages to meet most of the needs. So all the basic needs could be covered inside a software aspect if it is meant to be compatible with the necessary hardware. Coming to communications technology, the development of communications technology is in a sense a symbol of human effort to communicate rapidly over great distances. That is why communications technology is actually older than computer technology. These two technologies are now fusing into what Anthony Oettinger has called communications. A communication system can establish paths over which messages can be sent between any two instruments in specified locations at desired times. This type of system is generally known as switched network. A terminal of computer network may have access to any of the computers within the network if it is authorized to do so. A computer serves as a terminal when connected for providing computation, information retrieval, etc. in accordance with the request of the terminal. A multilateral access capability allows users of the terminal to share these resources. Such networks are characterized by a technique known as packet switching, in which the message is divided into several message blocks called packets and are transmitted between something known as nodes and which are stored and forwarded on the basis of requests. That is why there has actually been a steady growth of computer to computer data traffic. The computer manufacturers are offering network architectures which together offer multiple operating systems running in families or similar computers. Another advancement of great significance in telecommunications from the technological point of view is that of a fundamental and massive shift from analog to digital modes of transmission. This shift is massive in that it involves the replacement or upgrading of costly equipment. It also involves types of communications, namely voice, facsimile, computer transmissions, and television communication, which we all will be affected. For example, every manufacturer of semiconductor circuit has started to produce a device called codec, which actually stands for coder and decoder. This circuit takes the human voice and transmits by the standard voice grade telephone channel, samples the signal around 8,000 times per second and encodes it in a digital bit stream. Digitized signals from hundreds of telephone conversations are then bundled, transmitted over a high capacity communication links, decoded at the other end, and reconstituted in a very close approximation of the original voice. As a result, of these rapid technological processes, a variety of services which have traditionally been considered separate are now becoming increasingly similar. This tendency is generally referred to as convergence of service modes. Telecommunications can now handle not only speech and data but also visual information in a unified manner. Broadcasting is now capable of providing two-way or selective dissemination of audio and visual information by a way of broadband cables in addition to conventional one-way dissemination. As a result, two traditionally separate services, telecommunications and broadcasting, tend to merge in their mode of operation and thereby provide users with diversified types of information more efficiently. Some of the significant aspects of information transmission technology which we have discussed briefly were switched network, computer to computer data traffic, information retrieval. Now, there is also a result of rapid technological process. Wide variety of services have been traditionally considered to be separated, which we have also discussed, are now converging into a service single mode. Let us understand what exactly are fundamentals of a computer architecture. These fundamentals include terms such as speed, which actually states computers can calculate at very high speeds. Storage, computers have their main memory and auxiliary memory systems. A computer can store a large amount of data. Accuracy, the accuracy of a computer system is very high. Versatility, computers can perform activities ranging from simple calculations to complex modeling and simulation like navigating missiles and satellites. Automation, computers can be programmed to perform a series of complex tasks involving multiple programs. Diligence, diligence means being constant and earnest in effort as well as application. Computer applications. Only limited number of applications have been specified in this particular slide, such as in military, the first digital computers with their large and cost mainly performed scientific calculations, often to support military objectives. Then in creative art, they have also been used for entertainment, with video games becoming a huge industry. Robotics, computers have been used to control mechanical devices since they became small as well as cheap. Networking and the internet, computers have been used to coordinate information in multiple locations. Understanding the types of computer systems. We have something known as supercomputers, the mightiest and most expensive computers. They process billions of instructions per second. One uses supercomputers for tasks that require mammoth data manipulation, such as worldwide weather forecasting and weapons research. Then there are computer systems known as mainframe. In the jargon of computer trade, large computers are called mainframes. Mainframes are capable of processing data at high speeds, millions of instructions per second, and have access to billions of characters of data. The principal use of it is for processing vast amounts of data quickly. Then there is something known as personal computer. Personal computers are often called as PC. A PC is based on a microprocessor originally made by the company Intel with other companies such as AMD. PCs usually use an operating system. Then there is something known as Mac. The computers made Macintosh, which uses PowerPC processor made by Motorola, are referred as Mac and use operating system called Mac OS created by Apple. We now come to understanding the generations of computers. A generation refers basically to the state of improvement in the development of a product. It is also used for major state of different advancements or achievements of computer technology. With each new generation, remember that the circuitry had also become smaller and more advanced than the previous generation before it. The time span of era of computer generation may vary in different prospects. The prospects that we are covering is mentioned in the slide. The first generation started from 1946 and it was succeeding till 1958, which were also known as the vacuum tube years. The first generation of computers were huge, slow as compared to the current generation, expensive and often undependable, and used vacuum tubes in CPUs. In 1946, two Americans, Presper Eckert and John Mauchly, built the ENIAC, Electronic Numerical Integrator and Computer, which used vacuum tubes instead of mechanical switches of the Mark I. The ENIAC used thousands of vacuum tubes, which took up a lot of space and gave off a great deal of heat. First generation computers relied on machine language to perform most of the operations, and they could only solve one problem at a time. Then input was also based on punched cards and paper taps, and output was displayed on printouts. So you can imagine how the first generation of computer looked like. There is a sample image which is available on the internet. There was also some advantages of the first generation computers. These computers were in no time in terms of calculating. They might calculate in milliseconds. Vacuum tubes were the electronic components available at that time, which were used by these computers. Some of the disadvantages of first generation computers were these computers weighed about 30 tons and took up a lot of space as they were very big in size. These computers were absolutely costly and based only on vacuum tubes due to the presence of magnetic drums. They were only able to store a small amount of information as compared to the computers which are in the present generation. As the first generation of computers were using vacuum tubes, it needed a large cooling system. They also consumed a large amount of energy and had less work efficiency. They needed punch cards, as it is already mentioned, alright, and had limited programming capabilities. Coming to the second generation in our perspective started from 1959 to 1964, which was also called as the era of the transistor. Transistors replaced vacuum tubes and unushered or ushered in the second generation of computers. In 1947, three scientists, John Barden, William Shockley, and Walter Bretton, working at AT&T Bell Labs, invented the transistor, to which functions like actually happening like a vacuum tube. The transistor was faster, more reliable, smaller, and much cheaper to build than the vacuum tube. Second generation computers moved from cryptic binary machine language to symbolic or assembly languages. High-level programming languages such as COBOL and Fortran were also developed during this time. Some of the advantages of second generation of computers were the dimensions of the electron component decreased, which actually because of the existence of transistors rather than vacuum tubes. Hence, the scale of those computers was very small in size as compared to the previous generation. These computers consumed less energy and did not produce maximum amount of heat because of the first generation of computers. In these computers, punch card and assembly languages were used to give input. As compared to the first generation, it had better portability at lower cost. Furthermore, these computers were faster in speed and could calculate data in microseconds. Some disadvantages of second generation computer involved it required a cooling system and constant maintenance. Also, these computers were used only for a particular objective. Coming to the third generation, which according to our prospect is from 1965 to 1970, and it involved integrated circuits, which also kind of miniaturized the computer. Integrated circuits or ICs started replacing transistors during this period. The integrated circuits, or as it sometimes referred to as semiconductor chip, packs a huge amount of transistors onto a single wafer of silicon. Placing such large numbers of transistors on a single chip vastly increased the power of a single computer. Instead of punched cards and printouts, users interacted with third generation computers through keyboards and monitors and interfaced with an operating system, which allowed the device to run many different applications at one time with a central program that monitored the memory. computers for the first time became accessible to mass audience because they were comparatively smaller and cheaper than their predecessors. Some of the advantages of third generation computers were uh, the obvious one was these computers were cheaper in cost. This generation's computers had integrated circuits which were small in size. That is why many of many people thought that these are more reliable and faster in speed. The use of IC was not only beneficial for reducing the size in computer, but it also enhanced in a way the performance of the computer compared to the second generation. This also was the generation which introduced a big storage capacity. In these computers, keyboards and mouse were used to give the input rather than punch cards. These generations computers were comparatively much faster in terms of calculation, as well as they decreased the computational time from microseconds to nanoseconds. Furthermore, for better performance, these computers used operating systems and also used multiple programming and the concept of time sharing. There also were some set of disadvantages in the third generation of computers. For example, air conditioning was required by these computers. The manufacturing of IC chips required a highly sophisticated technology. Also, ICs are not easy to maintain. Coming to the fourth generation, which according to our perspective is from 1971 till present day, which also contains the era of microprocessor. This generation can be categorized by both the jump to monolithic integrated circuits, millions of transistors put into one integrated circuit chip is what it means, and the invention of the microprocessor. By putting millions of transistors onto a single chip, more calculation and faster speed could be reached by computers. Microprocessors moved out of the realm of desktop computers and into many areas of life as more and more everyday products began to use microprocessor. As these small computers became more powerful, they could be linked together to form networks, which eventually led to the development of the internet. Fourth generation computers also saw the development of GUIs, graphical user interfaces, the mouse and handheld devices. Advantages of fourth generation of computers included the first advantage, which actually was uh, uh, remarkable, is the size that it got reduced to, as well as the fastest computation as compared to any of the previous generation of computer. Its heat generated was kind of negligible and required less maintenance. In these types of computers, all kinds of high level languages available during that time as well as presently could be used. There still are some disadvantages to the fourth generation. One being the fabrication and design of the microprocessor is not as simple as it seems. In many cases, air conditioning is still needed due to the occurrence of ICs, integrated circuits. For making the IC, advanced technology even till now is required. Uh, the fourth generation kind of intertwines with the fifth generation also, which again the period is mentioned as present and beyond, and it is mostly into artificial intelligence. The fifth generation computing devices based on artificial intelligence are still in development, though there are some applications such as voice recognition that are being used today. The use of parallel processing and superconductors is helping to make artificial intelligence a reality. The advantages of these fifth generation of computers are it has unique features and are available in several sizes. It is more reliable and has the ability to work much faster because it has kind of intertwined artificial intelligence. It offers computers that have a more friendly UI, including multimedia features. Some of the disadvantages of this fifth generation of computers is in these computers very low level languages are used. They may be harmful in terms of making human brains doomed and dull. That is one of the disadvantages identified. So this is it. We come to the end of the chapter.